Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm really excited to bring you my review of the Nexus Pro X. It's been in my hands for a little while now, and while I don't have any gameplay footage for you, I feel like I've gotten enough time with it where I can finally release my thoughts, put them together in a review for you, and this thing has been put through its paces. Over 1,000 shots have gone through it, so I feel like now is a good time to put my thoughts to paper and release them to you guys. So let's go ahead and jump right in with the overview, and we'll go from there. So this is the Nexus Pro X. This is a follow-up from Adventure Force or Dart Zone, depending on how you look at it. And their Nexus Pro that was released a few years ago. Kind of the very iconic blaster that really kind of shaped a lot of what we know about kind of competitive level Nerf to the masses. It's a very polarizing blaster, the original Nexus Pro, in the fact that you have some people that absolutely hate it and you have some people that absolutely love it. Now, whether you fall on either side, you have to admit that bringing a professional, a pro level 150 to 175 FPS blaster to the shelves of Walmart for $50 for general public to enjoy is a huge step forward in our hobby. You have to admit that. Now, build quality, and shortcut, and corners cut, and different things about that blaster, yes, that we can talk at length about those, but we want to look at what this one brings to the table for the exact same price, $50. This is the same price as the Nexus Pro was when it released going into 2024, and that's even with a repaint and all that. So yeah, let's just jump right in. So first off, this is a short dart only pump action blaster. So it's got a spring inside. You pump the handle back to load a dart in and prime the plunger head, and then you pull the trigger to release that catch, and then it shoots the dart. You've got full Picatinny rail up top, and then also Picatinny rail on each side of the blaster that's attached through this M-LOK style attachment point. Now, I have taken these off, and while they're not attached like a traditional M-LOK attachment point, you can have access to 2 additional points of attachment here and on this side. So that's really good. So if you don't end up using this, you can use your M-LOK attachments on here, and it should be absolutely fine. These attachments are a little wobbly for my taste, so something like a camera probably wouldn't work really well. Flashlight would probably be your best bet. Otherwise, you're going to be better off getting your own attachments to fit to M-LOK. You've got a really kind of sharp angle foregrip that has a nice feel to it. It's a little more angled for my taste, but it's serviceable. There is a Picatinny rail underneath there, so you can add, a worker pump grip or a 3D printed one, whether it's horizontal or vertical, or a different angled one. It's completely up to you. It's got enough room in there so when you pull back that your thumb isn't going to smash into it. It's got a nice cutout right here. The mag well is real nice, so your magazines fit just like this. It's slightly flared, so it gives you a nice kind of clean insert. You don't have to worry about making it exactly in there. You've got a little bit of guidance in there, and then you can prime forward, and voila. So as far as the actual blaster itself goes, you've got a safety right here on this side. So safety and fire. I feel like this is a good feature to have, especially on blasters of this type of performance level. This is usually a common delete when you get into kind of like the mod community, which is fine. I personally think that these should ship with safeties on them. As a modder or as someone that upgrades blasters, it's one of the easiest parts to change it, to swap out for a 3D printed one. All right, so underneath the safety, we have our first mag release. Your magazines will go this way, and you pull this to release, or you could also use this one right here. You pull back, and it releases as well. As far as magazines go, they do gravity drop, which is awesome. It should be noted that this blaster does come with two 12-round magazines, and I believe during my unboxing I was able to fit a 13th dart in there while it was tight, but I could fit 13 in there, so that's good to know. Alright, so this is Editing Joe after the fact. Everything's been recorded for the review of the Nexus Pro X. Obviously, you've gotten to this point in the video. I completely forgot to record magazine compatibility. A couple people in the comments, and I also got a couple direct messages about mag compatibility. So I went ahead and pulled out all of my various magazines that I have that are short dart only. This isn't every different short dart. I don't have any Kodas or Tachis or anything like that, unfortunately. So what you see is what you get. So let's test it out and just kind of go through the gamut here. This is the included magazine, which, by the way, feels really good. Just gonna shoot some darts through it. Not a problem there. Talon magazine, this is what I used for all my testing. Ow. Should probably be wearing eye protection. Perfect. This is the long shot from X Shot, their short dart magazine. It catches, well, it doesn't seem to be catching unless you really push it in there. Does it load? It sure does. Whew, baby. That's good. This is the Dart Zone Mark III short dart magazine. It looks like it wants to catch. Yeah, it catches. Let's see. There we go. Doesn't want. Oh, I guess it does pull out. Yeah, that one, that's kind of rough. We've got the unicorn. That one's, it's in there. Let's see. Yeah, that one seems to be pretty good. I can't pull that out. So it looks like the unicorn one works. Sweet. We've got one of the curved magazines from the Seagull. That one works, doesn't pull out. There we go. This is from the Striker, Dart Zone Striker. Ooh, that one does not feel like it wants to go in. Oh, it does. There it goes. Okay, it's a little gushy. She does fire. She does load. There it goes. Okay. Ooh, it's not the cleanest one, so. Oh, I should have been. Oh, crap. Oh, well. Next up, we have the. What is this from? 12-round magazine from. Oh, this is the original Nexus Pro. Kind of like with the Striker. It's a little gushy. But, I mean, she'll load and she'll pull out without actually. Like, friction fit pull out. That's. I don't know. That's kind of rough. Those two are rough. There we go. And then this is, last up, we have this I don't think is going to work. This is the Dart Zone Dictator, half of their magazine. Oh, okay. It's getting caught on the first magazine detent in there. But if you push it through that first one, I mean, she'll go in. Huh. Yeah, I'm shocked that actually worked. But yeah, so there you go. The original Dart Zone magazines, they're kind of squishy, but all the other ones seem to be okay. It goes in, but it doesn't really want to stay in. This is a kind of a no-go. I would probably stay away from the long shot ones, but your kind of more traditional Talon style magazines, you know, the ones that are included, the original Talons, the unicorns, and then the worker kind of what do they call them, dragon claw, the seagull magazines. Those ones work, you know, flawless. The other ones are going to be a little bit kind of hit or miss. They still feed. It's just kind of, does it catch and stay in the blaster seems to be the other thing. So let's get back to editing. Trigger feels real nice. It's a little cushy, but there is a little bit of a wall to hit before it fires, which is nice. That way you kind of have an idea of where you're looking at. So right there, I'm kind of hitting a wall, and then just a little bit more, we'll fire it. So a nice kind of cushy, you know, about, I'd say maybe a millimeter of give, and then you hit that wall. It's got a nice grip. I haven't taken this off yet, but it looks like to be a similar shape to many airsoft rifle handles, so you can have a good grip replacement if this is not your style. The stock is fully adjustable. You got several different points of articulation here, so it just basically goes back and forth, and then it locks into place. Now it does not collapse, which is awesome. It's got a nice, it's got a nice locking mechanism. Now it does, if I remember correctly, yeah, it will expand. It will expand out if you pull on it, but that last one locks in, so it's not going to fall off. And that's good because it's got a sling point on the actual stock itself, which is great. Because if you want to run to or go to your secondary, you can drop this, and even though you probably don't want to have it collapse when you drop it, but just know that when you do drop it, there's a lock at the very end that will keep your blaster from hitting the ground. The other thing that's really, really cool on the stock is Dart Zone has included these brass inserts for D-rings. So you can go on Amazon or whatever, and I know this isn't the exact one, but something that looks similar to this will have a kind of threaded part on the end that you thread in, and you'll have a D-ring for your sling, and that's really, really cool. I am so stoked about that. This is something that I would expect to see something like this on like a worker blaster, like the Seagull or the Harrier or something like that. But a $50 Walmart blaster, like, that's really sick. So the other thing that you can do with this is you've got a little compartment here. They have you store this extra O-ring in there, but there's enough room in there you could store some Skittles, you know, some stuff like that, some, you know, wartime snacks, if you will. Keep in mind, to get this off, you will need to take off any sling that's in here. So if you plan on using this sling point, make sure you get what you want out of there. There's no rubberized grip or anything like that on this, which is unfortunate, but adding, you know, a rubberized sticky on there is easy enough. Now, while I haven't opened this blaster yet, it does offer some new and exciting kind of designs on the inside. If you head over to Walmart's website, they've got like a little video on their kind of product page that shows the internals and how they work. We'll be releasing a separate video later on next week rather, opening up the blaster and seeing how it looks on the inside. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about all the pieces that you get. So you get the blaster, you get 2 magazines, you get 2 different SCAR barrels, or different rifling barrels, if you will. You get like a traditional P-car that has some molded lines inside. This imparts spin on the dart itself. So this attaches this way right here, and that way when the dart comes out, it hits these lines and it kind of threads it through, so then the dart will spin on the way out. This improves your accuracy greatly. This blaster, like I said, comes with 2. This one is a different kind of bearing, or a different kind of SCAR. This one actually offers bearings, so 3 sets of 4 plastic bearings that are kind of angled. This kind of acts like the P-car and the actual lines going through it, but this will put spin by rotating the bearings, which rotates the dart. Again, very, very effective. It is good to note that Dart Zone does sell these packaged together. However, They sell a more premium one separately. These have plastic bearings, whereas the $20 package where you get these two together, you get metal bearings. So I'm not sure if that was a cost cutting measure or whatever, but I really do appreciate, you know, the inclusion of not one but two of these. And you know, to each their own. However, you know, whatever darts you use, you know, whatever climate you're in, it's going to change which one you use. And I think more options is always good. The other cool thing that they thought of is this right here. You can use this on any of your other blasters that has an exposed barrel. So this one doesn't necessarily have, it's got a faux barrel, but there's a metal barrel inside. Some blasters come with an exposed barrel where the metal barrel is outside the blaster. Taking this insert out will allow you to put this over top of that, most of them rather. And so you can use this with your other blasters, which is sweet. And then you could also do the same with this one. This was thoughtfully designed to fit like this for this blaster. And then if you have, I don't know, like let's say, if you have, like let's say a Harrier, you can use this and stick it on the outside of your Harrier, which, you know, is phenomenal. So great design there. Love that they're included. Even if this is, you know, plastic bearings, still an awesome include at $50. So I can't stress that enough. You also get a kind of a side holster for your attachment that you're not using. So like the P-car will fit like that. And then the bearing scar can fit like that. Alternatively, you could also stick your P-car like this, and it's a little snug like that, so you could actually run it like kind of like that. I don't know how many people will be doing that because I don't think it's advantageous to swap these in the middle of a game. We'll take a look at some testing here in a little bit, but I don't think anybody's going to be swapping these in the middle of a game. But the one nice thing is, and as a try-on user, having a place to store these extra parts while the blaster's not being used is a nice feature add. It's a creature comfort that I wish GameFace would have taken a little more seriously with their spring spacers. Nevertheless, you also get a front iron sight to correspond with your rear iron sight. While I didn't use these in my testing, they seem serviceable enough. There's no glass or any type of magnification in this scope. It's literally just like a rear iron sight that's made to look like a scope. And it corresponds with this kind of pip right here. And it doesn't seem to be too hateful. And like I said, right out of the box, if that's what you're going to use, it's better than absolutely nothing. The huge benefit here is they didn't put any glass in there, so you don't have to worry about moisture or it fogging up or getting scratched and unusable. It's just the plastic, crosshairs, which is fantastic. You also get 24 of their Adventure Force Ember darts to fill up your magazines, and yeah, that's you get some eye protection, which is awesome. Really need it for that. So that's the features and overall look on the blaster. Let's go ahead and take it out and see what she shoots on the range. We're also going to go take a walk down memory lane, and we're going to go to the actual range and see how far she shoots, because Dart Zone went ahead and put a 200 feet quote on their box. So we're going to test that out and see how she does. So let's go ahead and go out to the range and shoot some darts. All right, guys, so we're out on the range with the Nexus Pro X. We're going to be shooting starting at 60 feet for this testing. We're going to go through the entire gamut that's included in the box, so what we're calling stock, so no barrel attachment. Then we'll do the bearing scar and then the P-car. We're going to go through our normal 4 dart types, but we're also going to be including in this test the red Worker Gen 3 high-end darts. So let's start with the purple darts first and see how it goes. Again, we're 60 feet, aiming dead center, 20 shots, brand new darts. next up, the Worker Gen 3, the red darts. Let's see if there's any difference. Again, 60 feet, aiming dead center. Alright, next up we have the Adventure Force darts. These are the Ember darts, the Walmart darts, 60 feet, aiming dead center. Alright, next up we have the Dart Zone Ruby darts. Again, we're at 60 feet, aiming dead center. And then last up we have Dart Zone bamboo darts. These are the 2.0 variety. Let's see. Aiming dead center, 60 feet. So next up, we're still at 60 feet, but we're going to install the bearing scar here. Start with our Worker Gen 3s. Alright, next up we have Worker Gen 3s with the red variant. 10 rounds, 60 feet, aiming dead center. That went like over the fence and into the street. Alright, next up we have the Adventure Force Pro darts. These are the Ember darts from Walmart. Next up, we're at 60 feet. These are the Ruby darts from Dart Zone, ones you can purchase at Target. Alright, next up we have the bamboo darts from Dart Zone. These are the 2.0 version at 60 feet, aiming dead center. Alright, so we are doing a range test on the Nexus Pro X. We've got 2 darts of each, starting with Worker Gen 3, purples, then reds. Then we've got Adventure Force Ember darts, Dart Zone Ruby, and then we've got, and then we have bamboo darts from Dart Zone 2.0. We're testing out with the B car. We're going to aim at about 45 degrees. Alright, so then that's it. Hang tight. So then we have our measure, and we're going to see how far they go. Got both Eli and Sawyer helping me today. You see them? They're standing at the 200-foot mark right now, so it looks like right here we've got a Dart Zone 2.0 bamboo dart. We've got here we have a Ruby dart. We've got another Ruby dart right here, and purple worker dart, another bamboo dart, and another red worker dart. We've got an Adventure Force dart, and then there's the other red worker dart, and then down here is purple worker dart. Alright guys, so we are back in from the range, and oh boy, this thing is firing pretty hot. We're going to go over the numbers, and we'll go over the range footage and all that stuff, but color me impressed with the results of this thing. So we do have a couple different things to talk about right up front. We did use, as you can see, as you could tell in the footage, we did use our traditional 4 dart testing. These are 20 brand new darts that haven't been shot before from both Worker Purples, Dart Zone Rubies, Venture Force Embers, and then Dart Zone Bamboo 2.0s. Now we also added a 5th dart, which I don't know why we did. I don't know why I did it with this one, but we did. I went ahead and added in Worker Gen 3 Plus red darts because apparently there's some difference between those and purples, and I just wanted to see just a little bit. This is going to be the first of many tests with those. But those are the darts we tested, brand new for both the FPS reading and then also out on the range, and then also with our distance testing. Along with that, we did test a stock configuration, which is what I'm calling like this, where there is no muzzle attachment, and then one obviously with the one set with the B car, and then also one with the P car, wherever that went. So when I talk about these things, you'll hear me talk about the P car, B car, and then stock. Stock form is no attachments whatsoever on the front end of the muzzle. So let's go ahead and start with our FPS tests. And first up, I want to talk a little bit about the kind of favoritism to the red darts versus the purple darts when it comes to workers. At least with this blaster, the comparison couldn't be more clear. The purple tend to be slightly higher FPS, but struggle with standard deviation compared to the reds. So if you, I mean, just strictly if you look at every test going down the line, so, you know, the stock one, you've got a standard deviation with the purple is 17.9 and slightly higher FPS. And then the same thing is true for when you add the B car, and the same thing is true when you add the P car. So there is a little bit of difference, not a lot to be like substantial, but with this blaster in my climate, there is a little bit of a difference to be had. Yeah, so with that out of the way, between the purple and the red worker darts, let's go ahead and jump into the numbers. And one of the things that I wanted to point out here is this blaster has no problem hitting 200 FPS and higher. In fact, every dart that I tested with every variation, P car, B car, and stock, had the the high was over 200 in every test. So that might throw a couple red flags for some people, especially if your club only allows 200 FPS limits. But keep in mind the average on all of these darts was below 200. The only one that kind of breached that was the Dart Zone Bamboo with the B car, and that was 200.4 as an average. Now, depending on what your club runs, if it's a hard cap or a soft cap, you might need to talk with them. But there is ways to dial this back a little bit, and that might be adding on a more aggressive bearing scar. You might need a more aggressive P car. I know Out of Darts sold caps for increasing your FPS, so I'm wondering if there's a way to design a cap to lower your FPS. Now, there has been talk from Dart Zone, I believe, if I remember correctly, they're going to release a spring pack that has a spring that goes up to 250 and then one that goes down below 200. Now, whether that's 175 or 150, whatever it's going to be, hopefully that'll bring it down, to where you yourself can use this blaster. But looking at these results, I was actually most surprised with the B car setup shooting the Ember darts. Standard deviation of 7.1 with an average of 194.1. Like that's really good. The standard deviation is phenomenal. The fact that it fell underneath that 200 FPS limit makes me just all giddy inside, because that means I can use this blaster at Kane and not have to worry about hurting people. The other thing that's really nice, Ember darts with the B car setup had the lowest high, so coming in at 208 FPS. So 200, 208, that, you hear me talk about like breaching, the threshold or whatever. 208 really isn't too hateful, especially when your average is 294 and your standard deviation is 7. That means a lot of your darts are hitting right in that like 195, 198 range and not going, too much higher to like, the 225, 238 feet per second ranges. So the other thing that I wanted to mention too before we move on to the precision shots is one thing that myself and other people that film their gameplay videos, the Ember darts are definitely hard to see on film. Having the black foam with the orange tip, you hardly ever see the orange tip when it's being fired. So most of the time you have to be looking for the foam. So it is definitely worth noting that the Dart Zone Ruby darts did have a really good finish with the B car and the standard deviation of 9.8. With an average FPS of 98.8. Now they did have a slightly higher high as coming in at 215.6. So a little bit spicy, but keep in mind 9.8 standard deviation really isn't too bad. It can definitely be better, maybe with a better seal, with some better lube, or opening the blaster up and servicing it off the shelf. Maybe you'll be able to get that FPS reading down, or the standard deviation down a little bit. But as far as capturing the darts in air on film, you're going to have a better time with the Ruby darts, and it's still going to fall underneath that 200 FPS and have an acceptable standard deviation. So with that being said, we all know that FPS is not the end all be all when it comes to how a blaster performs. So let's jump over to our precision shots. This is going to be a little bit different than we've done in the past. We're actually going to, since we shot 5 groups of darts 3 different times, first thing we're going to look at is stock performance, B car performance, and P car performance of each dart type, dart manufacturer individually. So we're going to start with the purple darts from Worker, and you can see the top image there. The top screenshot is our stock screenshot, and then you have B car bottom left, and then P car bottom right, and you can see just from the results of the stock, it's just kind of all over the place. Like it's getting there, which is nice. And this is at 60 feet, right? We were hitting 200 FPS, so I was like, you know what, we're gonna scratch the 45 feet. We're just gonna start right at 60, and holy cow, like we did really, really good. This blaster is no joke. Now, without a rifling on the front of it, it does kind of fall short, to say the least. The darts are still getting there, but they're just whirly birding. They're going all over the place, which basically tells me this thing just needs a slightly longer barrel, and that will drastically improve the overall distance that they're flying consistently. So that might be something we have to test. The B car finish was actually really good. It hit every time and hit a pretty good cluster. P car, on the other hand, had a slightly wider cluster, but still did really, really well. And to be honest with you, I would take either one. This is almost a 3-foot target. So yeah, heading all darts, in a similar location, that's probably what, maybe a 2-foot radius or 2-foot diameter between all those shots, and absolutely, phenomenal job. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Worker Reds. The Worker Reds had an even harder time without any type of rifling attachment, just shooting all over the place. We even had one go off the screen, completely out of frame, over the fence. It was bad. But anyway, obviously we can laugh and joke, but this just proves to you what these rifling will do. I seem to remember when I got into the hobby with the Nexus Pro, everyone was saying, oh, well, if you're shooting less than 200 or less FPS, rifling doesn't matter or whatever. Well, here's the results. Clearly rifling does matter. There was just with the B car, just that one shot that fell short, and then everything else fell within, what is that, 2 feet, 1.5 diameter? Come on, there isn't much more proof you need. The P car, again, having a similar result. This is just a matter of centering in the sight, and you're off to the races. Again, 60 feet, aiming dead center, flat blaster. This isn't arching or anything, or trying to loft the darts in. This is straight shot. So then let's switch over to the Ember darts, and this is a little hard to see. I apologize. I might have to change the color of the dot going forward, but the stock performance, again, just all over the place. So now we clearly know that's 3 different darts that have that problem. So it's an issue with the blaster, not with the dart. So no matter what darts you use, you're gonna have to use some type of rifling on it, whether it's the B car or the P car. Either one is fine, or another one from like Worker or whatever. Something is gonna need to be done to get those darts under control. The B car is is kind of where I think it's at. There's a huge space between the one shot that fell short and everything else. So if you take away that one shot, everything is right on top of each other in like that 12-inch radius. Like, whew, like there's not much better you can do. The P car on the other side, same thing. Like it did really well. You'd rather have a more narrow finish than a wide finish. Most of your target's gonna be taller than they are wider. So when you actually hit your target and your next shot hits, as long as it's in that same vertical like hemisphere, then you're off to the races. Like there's not going to be an issue. With this one, you're still in that bottom quadrant, which is phenomenal. So yeah, great job on the Ember darts, and it's great because those are the ones that come with the blaster. So the ones that came with the blaster, with the hardware that's included, showing the best so far. So next we're going to switch up to the Dart Zone Ruby darts. So these are the darts that you can get at Target. At least you could. It doesn't look like they're selling them on store shelves anymore. At least in my area, you have to order them on Target.com and have them shipped to you. But again, similar result. We all know now the blaster struggles with it, but stock is just not going to be getting it there. You can have fun with it, but if you're in any type of competitive setting or want to shoot and hit what you're aiming at, you're going to need to add rifling. The B car did phenomenally well, save the one that went top left. I'm not sure what that's about. P car, similar story as the rest, just like phenomenal job. Like you can't really say too much more about it. The Bamboo 2.0 darts, these ones struggled a little bit. And I don't know if it's because the darts weigh slightly less, so they're not as compatible, but they were all over the place with the stock version. The actual B car version, while it was centered on the target, still had a pretty big spread. The P car still spread out quite a bit. So in my opinion, the worst of the 5 showings, but still acceptable. I mean, if all you have and all you can get for some odd reason is the Bamboo 2.0 darts, like, you're not going to hate life. It's still going to be fun, and everything that you need is included. You don't need to buy any additional hardware to get those shots kind of zeroed in. And who knows, open the blaster up and service it a little bit, you might be able to get that tightened up a little bit. So with those out of the way, we're going to switch gears and we're going to still look at the precision, but we're going to look at them in groups according to what attachment we had. So first up, just for chuckles and just to show like how it advances, these are all 4 darts save the Bamboo 2.0 because they were garbage, of just the stock version. So you can kind of see everybody is kind of in the same boat. It just doesn't look good. But if we enhance, hey look, there's the B car, and everything is suddenly much better. Like everything is bright. It's like going from like 480i to 4K. It just, like, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm just gushing about this blaster. When you switch over to the P car, it looks just about the same as the B car. Nevertheless, it is what it is. It comes with 2. You pick whichever one you want to use. But in my testing, there ain't much difference. So maybe it's more of a, FPS, and you're like, hey, this is what I can hit with this one versus that one. So that's probably what it's going to come down to if you need to shave off a couple of, 2 or 3 FPS. But I feel like in the long run, this would have been better if they could have shaved off, 15 to 20, maybe 30 FPS with this between these 2. So my final thoughts for this blaster and kind of where it sits at for me. Well, the optimal range is definitely 60 feet, and that's without question. B-Car with the Adventure Force Pro Ember Darts are probably what I would run with this blaster. If I was looking to make sure that I was hitting what I was aiming at every time, I think that's probably where I would go. Now, if I was filming and making like gameplay videos and stuff like that, I would probably stick with the B-Car and go with the Ruby darts. You gain a little bit of the FPS on there, slightly lower or slightly higher standard deviation. But yeah, for sure, the optimal kind of setup, in my opinion, is the Adventure Force Pro darts. 194 on the average. The high is 208, so you're still not kind of too much higher than that 200. And you just can't beat the standard deviation of 7.1. It's just really, of what was tested here, obviously. Let's talk about what I liked about the blaster. First and foremost, I harp on this all the time, and Dart Zone seems to be the only people that understand if you have a blaster that takes a magazine, give us 2 magazines, right? They did this with the Omnia Pro. Like, I was shocked, like, holy cow, there's 2 magazines in the box. Nobody else does this. Nobody. And I want to talk real quick. I'm sure they'll never see this, but I really want to talk about the customer experience when you're playing with a single mag, a blaster that has a single mag, and you get this blaster for your birthday or for Christmas, or this is the first one that you purchase, and you spend all the and you shoot all the ammo out of your 12-round magazine. You're like, okay, I got to reload in the middle of battle, and you reload, and then you put it back in, and you go back, and you're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be fine, man. That's great, but the experience of having a full magazine of ammo on your belt or in your pocket, and you empty one magazine out and you drop that and you reload that magazine and you get a tag and you're like, that was awesome. I'm sure glad I wasn't reloading that first magazine. Otherwise that guy would have walked in front of me. I would have never been able to hit him. Like, it's such, mentally, from a customer's perspective, that is such a better experience than having to reload, and then saying, oh man, I really need more magazines, right? Like, oh, but if you have 2 magazines and you unload one and reload another one, you're like, holy cow, having that extra magazine was phenomenal. Imagine if I had 6 magazines. Like, now you have a positive buying experience for your customer because they just had a phenomenal gaming experience unloading an empty magazine and reloading a fresh one instantaneously. And now you're like, oh, I have 2 of these. I need more of these. Whereas the person that buys a blaster that only has 1, like, man, I need to buy more of these because reloading this one is an awful experience, and I kept missing tags or kept getting tagged out, or the fun stopped, or whatever. This is a good investment. Spend the extra $3 and give us 2 of these. I will step down from my soapbox, but 2. Every blaster that is a magazine blaster needs at least 2. Charge us the extra $5 it costs to make that, or whatever it costs. Okay, I'm gonna step down from my soapbox now. Second thing I like, short dart only. This is just something that we need to gravitate towards. If you're looking to add the pro name to a blaster and you're shooting this speed, 200 or higher, I feel like this, even 175 or higher, I think this needs to be the go-to. And that's not to say that long darts don't have a place in our hobby. They absolutely do. I don't want companies to stop making long dart blasters, because those are a lot of fun. My kids enjoy them. I enjoy them. But when it comes to competition level blasters, this is the standard. This is what needs to happen. Okay, hands down. Durability, the improvement of this plastic over the Nexus Pro from so many years ago is so much better. And it still has creak, right? It still has creak. It's just not nearly as brittle. It doesn't feel as brittle. I feel like when I prime it, I can prime it on my shoulder and there isn't a lot of give. I hear the bearings rolling. I hear the actual mechanics of the blaster over the creaking of the plastic. And that is so welcome. Like, I love the fact that that's the one of the things that I dislike about the original Nexus is just how loud it is. And coming from someone that likes to make gameplay videos, like that constant creaking in plastic, even when you're running, it just got on my nerves. With this, it's not nearly as bad, not nearly as noticeable. The stock is a great point of interest. This, I think, is something really cool. I think will get overlooked as this like attachment point for sling mounts. But I appreciate that detail. Dart Zone, that's really cool of you. Yeah, most for sure. Okay, so this is where I talk about features I don't like. And this is kind of a deal breaker for me when it comes to this blaster. I thought I might be able to get over this, but I don't think I will. And that is the off-centered barrel. And you could tell like the, kind of like the structure here of the blaster, the line of blaster, the actual barrel is lower than what it should be. And from what I can tell, that is due to the internals and how the internals work with the plunger tube, the plunger head, the spring, all that stuff. There's air redirection in there, so they could save space. I'm sorry, this is kind of a deal breaker for me. I cannot get over the fact that I look down the sight, my barrel is actually significantly lower to the point where I'm, if I'm in cover, peeking around cover and shooting, if I'm not 100% over top of my cover, I might be shooting the cover that's right in front of me. And that's frustrating. That happened to me a couple times when I was out shooting, plinking around in the backyard, and I thought it was something that I'd be able to get over, and it really bothers me, to the point that I'm just going to stick with my Try-On. I would much rather go back to my modded Nexus Pro because of that, and that's unfortunate. Is it a deal breaker for everybody? It shouldn't be. If you don't have a Nexus Pro and you're getting into the game, this is a great jumping off point. $50 gets you a lot of product, and there isn't much you'll need to do out of the box. Add a better sight. You've already got your B card. Get yourself some darts, a couple extra magazines, and you are off to the races. But that lower barrel is one of the things that I thought from the get-go would bother me. And after getting it in my hands, putting 1,000+ shots through it, I'm like, you know what? This ain't it. This ain't it, Jim. This ain't it, Jim. The other thing that doesn't necessarily affect me or bother me as much as I thought it would is the color scheme. I really wish they would have got rid of the orange and just replaced it with either the pink or the blue. I know obviously, with the barrel you need some type of orange or whatever. That's fine, I get that, but like the orange that's all over in here, I would have rather see it just be the blue or the purple. Or the pink, I don't care. But I do know for a lot of people that is a sticking point. I've seen in comments, I've seen on Reddit, how the color scheme's just not their cup of tea and they're not going to paint it. So painting is definitely an option, and the fact that it's raised might give you some cool effects if you do paint it. You still get a real nice kind of texture when it comes to the Nexus Pro, and like kind of like this camo shape stuff is all kind of raised up. You might get some really cool paint jobs out of it. If I had to give any advice to Dart Zone, and I know I'm probably the last person they'd listen to, offering like kind of like a whiteout version, where it still has, some of these textures to it, but it's easier to paint, would be a pretty cool nod to the mod community. I've never successfully painted a blaster that I've fallen in love with, so the thought of buying a $50 blaster, tearing it apart, and painting it is not up on my to-do list. But it can be done. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you leave a like and a comment down below if you enjoyed this video. If you like the content that you see on this channel, make sure you get subscribed for upcoming videos. We will be doing another video about the Nexus Pro X where we open it up and take a look at the insides and how everything works in this new fancy system that they have built for this blaster. We'll also leave another video up here for you to enjoy in the meantime until that one comes out. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.